Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Friday on The Hash. It is the end of the week, and we're bringing you all the latest and greatest in crypto and culture. My name is Naomi Brockwell, and we have, as usual, the crew. We have Zach Seward, Will Foxley, Jen Sanasi, and we are talking, first of all, about a new Bitcoin ETF. I know we just gave you news, but there is another one. So I'm going to throw this off to Zach. Tell us about it.
Oh, I'm talking about Bitcoin ETFs today. Holy smokes!
I'm talking about Walmart.
Walmart, dude. Get out of here with Bitcoin ETFs.
What?
Bitcoin ETFs, that's for Wall Street. I'm for Main
That is a
Street.
surprise.
Let's go to Walmart. Let's go to your local big box store. And we're going to talk about this Walmart scoop that we got out the door yesterday. We got a tip that Walmart was quietly activating Bitcoin buying functionality for some of its Coinstar machines. 200 to be exact. After confirming with Walmart, they are rolling out the ability to put cash into the Coinstar, get Bitcoin out. We even sent someone to a Warminster, PA, Walmart to do the damn thing, and it worked. So that's the news from yesterday. A bunch of outlets followed suit covering this scoop that was first reported by Ian Allison. And it's really interesting. The ability to get Bitcoin out of Coinstars is not new, to be clear. That tie-up with CoinMe, a crypto ATM provider, was first deployed in 2019. But this is the first time that Coinstars at Walmart will be providing this service. So interesting to see this. I'm going to toss it straight to Will for his initial thoughts, and then we will chat. Will, what are your thoughts?
Totally. Two thoughts out of the gate on this one. Number one was the Litecoin angle in this. And was it like August or so that there was a fake Litecoin press release that circulated around saying that Walmart was accepting Litecoin as a means of payment in the store. We saw Litecoin pump and then dump immediately after that news was revealed to be fake. And Walmart was not super happy that their name was tossed into the ring with the whole cryptocurrency circus out there. And so they decided not to issue a press release for this reporting here, which of course is consequential because Walmart is a huge place for people to come and have financial activity, obviously. Like everyone from in every kind of socioeconomic class uses Walmart. So that's my second point is like you're seeing adoption of cryptocurrencies in a place where a lot of people who don't have access to financial mainstream or even bank accounts in the United States and elsewhere, they can go to a CoinMine, they can go to one of these Coinstar locations, and they can get crypto. It's a little bit more expensive. I will note that. It's a little more expensive than going to Coinbase or buying on Cash App. But you do have the ability to buy it, which is a huge step forward, I'll say. Naomi, I'm going to throw this down to you, though.
I've been so confused this whole morning. Not only am I introducing the wrong things, but I also read this story and I'm like, this isn't news. Like in my head, I thought that Walmart had been accepting like you could buy Bitcoin from Bitcoin ATMs at Walmart for years because in my head, I'd seen the Bitcoin associated with the Coinstar machines. But it seems that like I didn't quite realize that you had different types of Coinstar machines and different organizations could choose which ones they host at their locations. So yeah, it is news that Walmart is now using Coinstar machines that allow you to buy Bitcoin. I mean, I guess like even though I've seen them for forever, no one I know actually buys Bitcoin from Coinstar machines. And it's exactly for the reason that Will just mentioned, because it's a lot more expensive. But, you know, ATMs traditionally are going to be more expensive in general, whether it's Coinstar or other ATMs. A lot of them in my neighborhood, they charge a premium because people really love that pseudo anonymity that you get when you rock up and you just get cash out. But I will say that people should be mindful of that. Bitcoins are not anonymous machines. Bitcoin ATM machines, I mean. So they, first of all, you have to put in your number. Second of all, there are certain thresholds that the people who run the machines have to put in. So if it's over a certain amount, it's immediately like reported to certain agencies to keep track on. Furthermore, I mean, your number is kept in those machines. There are cameras on the machines, so your picture is there. Like if you're thinking of using machines like this as some sort of anonymity tool, I would think again, because they're absolutely not. I would try to think of other methods, but I just wanted to mention that as a PSA for people who might not realize that. But I'll throw to you, Jen.
I've never used a Bitcoin ATM machine before. And as I was reading the story, I was like, it sounds like so many barriers. Like you go to the machine, you get the money out, you pay the bunch of fees, you get the voucher, then you got a KYC, you have to set up your account. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of barriers. It's a lot easier to just kind of do it from your home. And then I thought, actually, what a great way to onboard people who are still skeptical of get Bitcoin from their home. I know I talk about the trust factor a lot, but seeing a physical machine in a place like Walmart, I think feeds that trust factor. And so what a great way to introduce people to Bitcoin, even though there's that higher premium. They may see it as paying a premium to ensure that they're not getting scammed in some way. And I'm not saying that you cannot be scammed at an ATM. I'm just saying that maybe this is one step closer to getting a population that hasn't been exposed to Bitcoin on the Bitcoin train.
I'm just bummed that you can't use actual coins. So according to the user interface in there, you can't put actual coins in and get Bitcoin out. You can only put dollar bills in there and get Bitcoin out. That's a bummer to me.
So dumb.
If you could change actual coins, like, couch cushion coins, or, stuff in your cup holder in the car into actual Bitcoin, I'd be tempted to give it a go.
That would be really
but
cool.
No, you have to put in bills only, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, this is a bit notable, and I think sort of the prospect of like integrated financial services around cryptocurrency and Walmart, since it is a place for a lot of financial activity for a lot of folks, is alluringly close. But beyond this initial 200 ATM pilot, Walmart wouldn't comment further as to whether or not other functionality like buying stuff with Bitcoin would be part of the picture going forward. But for now, 200 Bitcoin ATMs in Walmarts across the country do have the functionality to do this, and it may be rolled out to more of those Coinstar ATMs in the future. So we shall see interesting development on the retail Bitcoin adoption front. But let's change gears. Let's go to Wall Street. Will,
it's time to talk about the suits.
Let's talk about the suits. Let's get out of the big box and let's go to the big shoulders. Hit me. Go.
Okay, Valkyrie Investments has launched its Bitcoin exchange traded fund. Like the ProShares one, it's also a futures contract that settles in cash. So we've seen this week that ProShares launched their ETF after Gary Gensler and the SEC gave its sort of stamp of approval. That whole process we can talk about later. But now we have the second one, Valkyrie. After about an hour of trading, it traded around $24 per share. The most interesting thing for me here is like the ticker name. It was originally supposed to be BTFT or something like that. I can't say it on screen. But yeah, Zach, I'll throw it to you. What was that?
BTFD, man. BTFD. Will, you know this.
They changed it.
No. It was originally going to be BTFD.
Control's trying to fact check us.
I'm going to fact check Control. Control, I'm fact checking you right now. Imaginary headset. It's BTF now, but it was BTFD because they wanted to get on that meme juice, but they couldn't.
They wanted the meme juice, just like we saw yesterday with Sam Bankman-Fried's new latest round. We're seeing everybody in the finance world wants to jump on the memes. So first they tried to have a ticker name, BTFD, but then they
Will, what does that stand for? What does that stand for, Will?
You're relevant.
That was going to be my question for Will. Tell us, Will. The people
What
need
is
to
it,
know.
Will? Please, the people need to know.
This is a family publication.
Killing me.
That's always what I've heard. No. Anyway, interesting to see that they had to change that.
Sad
that they had to change their ticker name.
Frickin' dip.
The frickin'
There it
dip.
is.
Just for you.
Yeah.
Frickin'.
That's what I'm talking about.
Amy, I'll give this over to you. What is your take on yet another exchange traded fund going live?
Well, I mean, I thought that Valkyrie was going to be the first because out of the four that were kind of on the cards that the SEC pushed the deadline back for, they were the only one that were tied to the futures market. So I was like, okay, Valkyrie might be the one that's accepted. Everyone's kind of expecting that they might be an ETF. And then we went ahead and got ProShares. And so I was like, whoa, okay. And so then I just kind of discounted Valkyrie and didn't expect that we'd get another ETF for a while because we've seen how slowly the SEC moves. Now we have another one a few days later. So I was actually pretty surprised to see this. Also, I feel bad for them because we had that big bull run because of the announcement and the trading of the first ETF. And then obviously there's a correction whenever this kind of stuff happens. And now Valkyrie's just joining in after that correction. So their share price is just like, boo. So it's like really not their fault. I mean, they're just tracking the price of Bitcoin, right? So that was interesting to kind of see how that played out. But obviously, I mean, we're all in this game for the long run. And I think long-term Bitcoin's pretty bullish right now. So we'll see what happens. But it is really cool now that we already have two. I like competition in the marketplace. I like people being able to choose different products. And I mean, how many are we going to end up having? We've had like dozens and dozens and dozens of applications put through to the SEC. Are they just going to accept them all? Are we going to have like 200 Bitcoin ETFs? I mean, is like a Bitcoin ETF just going to take over the entire of the New York Stock Exchange and like every second listing's another Bitcoin? Like, I wouldn't mind. I'd be okay with crypto taking over. I want them to take over everything. But it's kind of like this weird scenario where like, how many ETFs do we need? But anyway, I'll throw this to you, Jen.
Yeah, that was my question. How many do we need? I was both surprised and delighted this morning when I read the news. I don't know how many more we're going to get. I think probably we will see another one by the end of the year, and that is based on no fact. But I will get excited again when we get some different news. Maybe when a spot ETF is passed through. But I don't know. Maybe Will has some thoughts on that, but maybe not. I don't know.
I'll give it to Zach first. He's got more insights into this.
I mean, I was just going to say when you see $1 billion of like volume in the first day or whatever that stat was, that was pretty staggering. Yeah, it would make sense that there's going to be more, right? The market demand is there, and the folks who've been in line to get this over into the market are happy to provide and happy to serve that demand. So until that demand tapers off, just looking at some of those charts, right? Like this was the most I don't know, hotly anticipated or most traded debut ETF in history or something, even relative to some of those initial gold ETFs that came out. So it makes sense that the demand for this stuff appears to be there and that others would rush in to serve that demand. But I'll kick it to Will because you got it.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add there. I think to answer Jen and Naomi's question, the answer may be you'll see as many ETFs as the market desires, and then you'll see the ability to launch them kind of subside as it's not profitable for people to create them. Because ProShares and Valkyrie, they're creating these things because they're making money on the side, right? They're making money off of people trading this. And as more of these come to market, there's going to be you're going to see fees get cut down. You're going to see a lot less volumes per different ETF, and then people will stop creating them, and you'll just have probably a few out there. But I'll give it to Zach or Naomi for the tease. What are we doing for the tease?
We're just confused today.
Who's teasing the crowd?
You go ahead and tease.
I'm going to tease Venezuela. Venezuela gold flakes. It's like gold rush slaves. It's like miners out here flaking off bits of gold to buy stuff as Venezuela spirals into economic crisis. We will talk about that after the break. So stick with us. It's The Hash, and it's a Friday. So that's cool. Thanks.
CoinDesk Indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk Indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, XBX, has been instrumental to Grayscale, enabling investors around the world to access Bitcoin through a regulated, familiar product.
CoinDesk Indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to The Hash. We are going all the way to Venezuela to see what's happening there. As we know, Venezuela has been embroiled in all sorts of economic turmoil, super hyperinflation going on there. People's life savings just completely evaporated away from government money printing. And so you've seen Venezuelans create this underground market in US dollars, underground market in all kinds of other currencies. But the latest is that in certain areas of Venezuela, they're going back to using gold as a means of buying goods and services. They go into hairdressers and paying with flakes of gold. They're, going to the grocery store and paying with flakes of gold. It's a super interesting story because we're going full circle. Gold obviously was a money that the market kind of came to as an ideal form of currency and exchange. And then gradually the governments started to tax that ability out of existence and make it more difficult and then supplant it with sovereign notes. And so people kind of went the sovereign fiat route. And as soon as that fails them, it seems that they're going back to tried and true methods. Now, it did get me thinking, why were people like going to Bitcoin? Because we do know that there's a lot of cryptocurrency usage in Venezuela as well. But it also turns out that internet connection actually is very important when it comes to cryptocurrency, which this new report actually dives into. So I'm going to throw to the group. Zach, I'll throw to you to start off with. Tell me, what were your thoughts when reading this Bloomberg article about this means of payment from Venezuelans?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, this is not easy for folks on the ground there. I remember having a Venezuelan colleague at my previous job, and he would send dispatches from his family back there. And it's really sad to watch this happen, because it really does have a lot of impact on people's lives, right? The ability to buy and transact is sort of a foundational human activity, and the need for people in Venezuela to turn to alternatives from the state-run currency is hard, and it speaks to the challenges that hyperinflation poses to people around the world. So, first of all, want to definitely be sympathetic to the turmoil that this creates. But it is crazy to see that flakes of gold are being used to buy soda in the grocery store, right? This comes as the currency there is virtually worthless, just given how vastly that has inflated away people's savings. So it speaks to the difficulty of some of this stuff. Obviously, it sort of speaks to whether or not Bitcoin could step in and be a bit more convenient for folks on the ground there. And it would be interesting to see if there is actually a lot of this peer-to-peer transaction in cryptocurrency following in the wake of this peer-to-peer transaction in gold. So curious if there's data on that, or if we're seeing any uptick in sort of local Bitcoins activity in Venezuela around this, but you may know that better than I. I'm going to throw that back to you, Naomi.
Yeah, a couple of points. One thing I will say is that I recently did an interview with Jorge Rodriguez. I'm really bad at pronouncing these names. And Andres Gilarte. They actually escaped from Venezuela. It's very difficult to actually leave, so they managed to flee. And they told me, I mean, from their perspective, it was mainly Bitcoin is being used as a store of value rather than a medium of exchange. Obviously, fees are really high. He said that Lightning's kind of non-existent there. And I've talked to a couple of other people that I'm interviewing at the moment who do say that things like Dash and Bitcoin Cash are a little more popular for day-to-day transactions. There's kind of a movement there to get people to pay with that. So it is there, but I think overwhelmingly, it's US dollars that the people there are using, and it's euros. And it's just interesting reading this article that people are going back to grams of gold. Like, they're not even going back to like government denominated coinage. I guess we know the history of money. That's what these things used to be. Like literally like thalers, it all derived from weight. It was the metric, like you would pay in 5 grams of gold or whatever. And then gradually governments changed the name and said, oh, we're going to change that, and it'll be, it doesn't matter how many grams of gold are inside, this is still going to be worth the same amount. And then from there, it started to get debased more and more. And now we're in the crazy system we have now, where we have these paper notes that are printed to infinity, and they're not really worth anything at all. But I'm going to throw this to Zach for your thoughts. I think I saw your hand go up.
No, I exhausted all my thoughts.
Oh,
John
okay.
and Ray had thoughts.
All right.
Most thoughts are fast. I'm going to give it to Will, though. Will, take it away.
I'll go really quick and then hand it over to Jen. But yeah, I've seen like some Bitcoin mining stuff there, which has been really interesting. And the people have set up Bitcoin mines in their homes, and they just run them. And it's like very common to walk into a store. I had one guy I was talking with, and he went to the dentist office. Behind the counter, there's 5 machines just running. It's very common just to see that all across Venezuela. Also, another angle on this is there's a lot of altcoin activity there too. A lot of people just have Binance accounts, and they just move money in and out of Binance accounts. They don't even bother settling with Bitcoin or bother settling with some other coin. They just trade on Binance back and forth, and that's how they give money to each other, is depositing it into each other's Binance accounts. It is interesting, just over the top, to say like gold is still supreme in everyone's mind. Like, gold left the country for a while. You had like the Bolivar being dominant, but once the Bolivar kind of fell apart, everyone knew and instinctively went back to gold. Jen, I'll give it back to you though.
Yeah, the community that they're talking about in this article, they say it's one of the poorer communities that they don't use the US dollar there, and the bolivar has inflated. There's a stat in the article that said a cup of coffee has increased in price by 1,700% in the last 12 months. And we talk about barriers to entry with crypto so much, and as I was reading the process about how these people are actually carrying around gold nuggets. They're carrying around tools. They're shaving the gold nuggets in stores. The store tellers, a lot of them can eyeball what $5 worth of gold is. This is an absolutely insane system. And for me, it's like, wow, that feels like so many more barriers than crypto. And for me, it just shows the resilience of people and just the lack of support and trust from their government, and a failure in a financial system. And it is so sad, but I'm happy to see that they've been resilient, and hopefully when internet can get there some way, somehow, they can have access to something that is much easier to use and transact with. But I will take us from Venezuela to the Metaverse. Now, I have to tell you guys, I went to the Decentraland Music Festival last night and just had so much fun. I was just running around in circles, just having a blast. Paris was not there.
Can we just talk about that for a minute? What was that like?
It was pretty cool. I went in pretty late, so there weren't a lot of people there. I visited the Sotheby's Art Gallery. I went to the music festival. I saw a band called the Turbans play. And then I visited the casino, which I think we spoke about in April when they were hiring real life staff. So I had a whole wonderful evening by myself with my virtual friends.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was
awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to the Metaverse. We're talking about Animoca Brands now. So they've invested in more than 100 startups, including OpenSea and Axie Infinity. And they are now contributing to the development of the Metaverse. The executive chairman, Yat Siu, was recently interviewed by Decrypt, and he described Facebook and Tencent as threats to an open metaverse. And I don't think that's a surprise to any of us here on the show, but Facebook recently announced that they are hiring 10,000 people to start building Facebook's metaverse. And Tencent has been trademarking, I don't know the exact phrase. I don't know if they've trademarked metaverse, but they've been trademarking phrases around the metaverse. And I wanted to open it up to the panel and ask you guys if you think that Web 2 players, the players who have created these walled gardens online, have a place in Web 3.
I don't know.
It's a deep question. Philosophical for
Yeah,
Friday.
It's a deep question for a Friday.
Yeah. I guess I'll say,
in.
Yeah. Take it. That's an interesting question. Naomi, you got it.
Yeah. If we're talking about trademarks, I don't think that they do at all. They can get their trademarks and they can, I won't swear, but they can go elsewhere. And, I think that if they're going to be, taking this stuff and using it as just kind of getting defensive patents and all of this stuff and trademarks so that, anyone can use this stuff, especially when you're dealing with terms like the metaverse that was actually, as I said, invented by Neil Stephenson. You don't see him going and suing everyone for using this concept that he coined. But I think that on the other side of things, these big tech companies really are at the cutting edge of innovation. I mentioned on the show the other day, Facebook in particular, so much of the technology that's used in Silicon Valley is actually developed by Facebook. We don't realize that. They have huge open source teams that work on these projects, and then they put a lot of resources towards developing it. People use these tools because they're really good. So I'm not going to completely discount their contribution. I think that they probably have a lot to contribute. I would, however, be worried about them co-opting certain projects or steering them in directions that will solely benefit their organizations. We saw the outcry when Apple changed its business model or added those tracking features, and Facebook was like, no, we must steer everyone's iPhone experiences towards what benefits our business model of tracking people. I'm not too confident about that side of things, but I definitely think that there are very smart people working at these organizations who have a lot to contribute. So I'll be interested to see in what capacity that plays out. But Zach, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Animoca is sort of carrying the torch on this one, right? We reported this week that they raised $65 million at a $2.2 billion valuation. They've backed a ton of NFT projects, a ton of Metaverse projects, and they are very much invested in making sure that the open Metaverse attracts users and potentially a return on their investment. So for this to be, the siren call of the Animoca team totally makes sense, and it'll be interesting to see if they become one of the key backers of this open metaverse, as opposed to these more closed systems that Facebook and others could roll out in the future. Naomi, I think I saw your hand up, and I'll toss it down to you.
Yeah, just a question. Isn't Tencent a Chinese company? And hasn't China banned all involvement in cryptocurrency? So how does it play out if you're getting involved with a metaverse, which is really based on blockchain technology and has crypto kind of inbuilt as part of its, the way it functions, the fuel of the economy? How can they get involved with this? I'm not sure if anyone has answers to that, but Will, I'll throw to you.
Yeah, is the Great Firewall like a physical place in the metaverse? There's a lot of questions there.
It's just a wall.
I don't think necessarily metaverse has to equal
China metaverse.
Right? There can be there are some definitions in metaverse that are inclusive of wasn't that thing like Neopets or something? There was something that we did recently that was a big early aughts thing, or what's a great metaverse is Second Life, right? That's a metaverse, okay, but that wasn't related to the blockchain, right? So there are ways to have open metaverse versus more closed metaverse, and I think we're going to see sort of players emerge on both those sides. Facebook, I think, being chief among them on the more closed side, and people building more open metaverses Decentraland or Crypto Voxels or whatever, sort of being the more open one, where Jen can roam around and hopefully win a little bit of money at the tables. Woo! That's all I want. Did you win any money at the tables last night, or did you come out?
Not. It just came out in the red, but it was my first time, so I'm gonna go back in with more confidence and just throw it all down on black. It was red last night. I'll go black next time.
Redo your avatar and whatnot. I mean, it's interesting because China is also cracking down. China's also cracking down on banning on gaming as well. They've banned minors from gaming during weekdays. Are there going to be all sorts of ID checkers at the entrance of these metaverses? That'd be the most unpleasant thing. You go to the metaverse to get away from that kind of rubbish, and then suddenly you're going to be ID checked in the metaverse. That seems very complicated, but. Yeah, good luck,
Tencent. To be there.
Digital pat downs in the other area of the metaverse, that's definitely not for the under 18s. Well, but let's wrap it up there. Zach, take us home to get that digital pat down. Oh my God, what am I doing? Stop it,
I'm gonna go get my metaverse employment. I'll be TSA security checker, in the metaverse. That's gonna be the new. It's the new me. It's the new me. That's what I was meant to do.
So
yeah,
awkward.
I'm gonna go fill out my application. We're gonna shut down the hash right now. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna wish you a happy weekend. I'm Zach Seward, Will Foxley, Jen Sanasi, Naomi Rockwell. We're the Hash. We're happy to be here with you, and we hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. We'll do it all over again, and that's it for today. All right, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.